Welcome to Radio Days with Gary Music Miller. Now here's your co-host, Dave Black.
And thank you, Angel, for that wonderful introduction. And I'd also like to thank a longtime viewer and supporter of our program, David Mills, for putting me in touch with her and letting her have the audition as our intro specialist, so to speak. The announcer for the announcers, so to speak. And hopefully, if you feel like her and enjoy her, we'll keep her on. If not, then we may have to just send her on her way. So with
shows that do shows around girls like that usually have thousands of viewers.
Well, usually, but
I'll put on somebody's got 2,700, and it's just some college girl running around them in bikini top.
Later on in the day, I don't call her Angel. It's only in the morning.
Just in the morning.
Yeah, Angel. I always call her Angel of the morning.
Oh, just call me Angel. I gotcha. All right.
Okay.
She looks like an angel. Talks like an angel. But I got wise.
A wise guy, eh?
What do you think? I'll wear my glasses.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. I think that we've got an interesting subject this morning. Gary's going to talk about some stuff. I've got some stuff to mention, and we'll see what you guys think. Gary Music Miller right here. Take it away.
Gary Music Miller. I did have a letter asking me what Hall of Fame I was in. And because you often introduce me as a Hall of Famer, and I will tell you that I was fortunate enough 10 years ago, it was a Halloween night, 2015, when I was inducted into the West Virginia Broadcasting Hall of Fame. And you can see that if you come here to the Museum of Radio and Technology in West Virginia, and we'll talk about that at the end of the show, where we are. As Dave said, I think we've got a very interesting show today. If you've ever wondered about artists who, for some reason, left their group and decided to go on their own, this is a show for you. This one will interest you. Before that, I'm going to get into the grin part of what I do at the beginning of every show, just about, and that's bring up music-related deaths that happened in the last little while. Some of these go back further than I normally would go. But I'm going to start by mentioning Jeannie Seely. That name may or may not mean anything to you. How quickly they forget. She died on August 1st. She was a Grammy winner for her 1966 song, Don't Touch Me. And she appeared on the Grand Ole Opry, well, take the D out, Grand Ole Opry, 5,897 times, more than any other artist in the history of country music.
I guess she finally got it right.
She finally got it right. She was asked and was a superstar. She was 85 years old when she passed. And I was on WWHY when it was playing country music between 1972 and 74, which is one of the reasons I left WWHY and went to WCMI in Ashland, so I could play more of the music that I liked listening to. But I played this 1973, I believe, top 10 single, Can I Sleep in Your Arms Tonight, by Jeannie Seely. So I was playing Jeannie Seely when she was around. It would be bad, it'd be rough to play her if she's not around, but she was very much a part of the country music scene, Grand Ole Opry, and a Grammy winner. Now, this will fascinate you, fascinates me. A guy named Ronnie Rondell died. No, he's not a 60s singer. with the Rondells, if that even announced. Ronnie Rondell was the man on fire on the Pink Floyd cover of the Pink Floyd album Wish You Were Here. Ronnie Rondell was the guy that was on fire. I've read that there were two different guys they used, so one guy wasn't enough, I guess, to set on fire. But Ronnie Rondell died at the age of 78. Actually, I think he died on August 12th, and I think it was 88 years old. So he lasted quite a while after being set on fire. But if you happen to have the Wish You Were Here album from Pink Floyd, check out the cover. I'm sure you've seen it many times if you own the album. And he's the guy that was set on fire. Lalo Schifrin. I may have mentioned him before. I may not have. Does that name anything to you?
Not offhand, no.
Lalo Schifrin, all I have to do is oh,
okay. Yeah.
Lalo Schifrin wrote the theme to Mission Impossible. And I'm sure I haven't seen any of the Mission Impossible movies, but I did watch the show way back when. Peter Graves, I've forgotten who all was on the show. I know Leonard Nimoy did it for a while.
Barbara Bain.
That was the Avengers.
The Avengers.
That was
I thought she was on.
Well, she may have been. She may have been.
On, because her husband, Martin Landau, was on the show.
Was it? Okay. Well, I knew Martin Landau and Barbara Bain did a show called The Avengers together, but they perhaps were both on that show.
The guy and the naked guy and the big guy, Peter, what was his name? Oh, I'm losing my...
George Kennedy?
No, the big tall guy, who was with...
Oh, yeah, Peter Lupus.
Yeah, Peter Lupus.
Lupus, who was the original Nordberg on the TV show.
I didn't know
before somehow that transitioned into O.J. Simpson in the movie. But Peter Lupus, and yeah, I saw one recently with Leonard Nimoy. I'd forgotten he made a fairly easy transition from Star Trek over to Mission Impossible, and people worried about being typecast, and I know he did, but he got into that. I'm going to mention a favorite singer of mine. I don't think I mentioned he died on June 18th. That's way, way back. I may have mentioned him. His name was Lou Christie. He was 82 years old. He passed away. He was the king of the falsetto. He did Lightning Strikes.
Yeah.
Another Rhapsody in the Rain. I'm Gonna Make You Mine, and he actually came under fire. He actually had to re-record some lyrics of his. There was a song about making love in the rain, and he had to re-record that for radio play. So that's how we've progressed. I don't think that'd keep anybody off the radio now. I don't have any information. I was just told that Wayne Osmond passed away. Wayne being one of the Osmond brothers. You only hear about Donnie, but Wayne was a founding member of the Osmonds, and he passed away recently. I don't have a date. I don't have an age, but that's it for folks that passed away. There are other people that passed away in other areas.
I would think that their parents would have been the founders of the Osmonds.
Yeah, his parents were the founders.
I thought they would have something big to do with it.
Yeah. He was one of the founding members of the group, the Osmonds.
God. I understand now.
I had 3 different emails, and I'm not emails, I'm sorry, direct messages on X, on Twitter. And I'm going to mention these to those of you that have just joined us or who have not followed the entire 4 years or so that we've done this. Somebody asked me did I ever think about doing a show? Did we ever think about doing a show about songs that are different songs but have the same title? And if you go back to season 2, episode 10, it was recorded on December 7th of 23.
A date that will live in.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see our show devoted to different songs with the same title. And that was a good one. And that's one I would advise you to check out if you haven't. I didn't write the names of the people who suggested these because we've done them all. Somebody recently wrote me just a couple of weeks ago and said, why don't you do something about the stars that are singers that are from the West Virginia area? Well, we did that on season 4, episode 13. It was just recorded just a few weeks ago, July 29th of 2025. And I was asked by I believe her name is Mimi, and she asked me to try to get Steve Hayes on one of our shows. Well, Mimi, Steve Hayes appeared on our show again this season, season 4, episode 5. Steve and I had a blast. It was a very popular show. So go back. What you can do is you can go back to, you can click on the channel and you can basically go by, if I'm correct, all of the shows that we've done.
Yeah, there's a listing.
There's a listing of shows we've done. So I've helped you by giving you the season and the numbers of the shows that you've asked me for, you've asked us for. So we've done that.
So it's good that Mimi asked.
And I will continue.
Good that Mimi asked you.
Mimi asked you.
Yeah.
We're going to, I'll try to do that every show, try to come up with some past shows that you may want to check out. And I know it's impossible to go through, 40-some shows?
I can tell you which ones you need to watch, and that's all of them.
All of them, absolutely. And if you have a really long week or weekend, we advise you to check out.
Binge us.
check out our past shows. I did have a complaint from a guy that I know very well who said there wasn't enough Gary Music Miller coming out in my voice. So I'll try to be loud and I'll try to do what I can. But it's like yelling at somebody across the room. Somebody asked me what it's like to put the Gary Music Miller persona on. I said, it's like yelling at somebody across the room. Hey, how you doing? We got the Bee Gees coming up next.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why you hear me at a lower voice, because it's too much like working.
Yeah. That's
too much like working.
That reminds me, I heard you talking to a fellow one time, and I might have introduced you to him. I don't know, but he said, "Oh, you're Gary Music Miller," and you looked at him just as deadpan as you could be, and said, "That's only when I'm at work." And I thought that's the greatest answer I ever heard.
Well, I am at work, and now they'll ask me that. They'll say, Gary Music Miller? I actually had somebody in the last week who came in and cleaned my home and actually saw the plaque and turned around and it was like, you're Gary Music Miller? I'm like, I was Gary Miller till, we started, from the time we started talking till just now. So Gary Music Miller is somebody different, and Gary Music Miller is a character, and Gary Music Miller has been inducted into the Hall of Fame. I wouldn't let him just put Gary Miller down because not a lot of people know who Gary Miller is. So Gary Music Miller's there. Today's topic, let me ask you, do you think, do you remember many times when there were groups and from those groups spun solo artists?
No, never. Oh,
never ever happened to you. You ever heard of the Beatles?
I'm kidding.
You said to me. No, seriously. Talking about groups, we're going to talk about groups today that spun into either successfully or not successfully into their own solo acts. We're not going to mention Michael Jackson and the Jacksons, Janet and Rebe, and I don't know who all did songs.
Yeah.
We're not going to mention the Beatles. George, Paul, John, and Ringo all did their own solo projects. Yeah, that's an obvious one. But I'll start out by mentioning a couple of people that, and Dave has a couple of people as well that we're gonna talk about. I'm gonna begin very simply with Simon and Garfunkel. Simon and Garfunkel had 15 top 40 LPs and 6 top 10 singles. Paul did You Can Call Me Al, Kodachrome. Paul was the more successful of the two. Paul did a very good job of spinning off onto his own. Garfunkel had 10 top 10 albums, 6 top 40 hits, and one of his biggest was called All I Know, I Love You, and That's All I Know. And he also did a version of the Flamingos classic hit, I Only Have Eyes for You, which was a very, very good version of that. But Simon and Garfunkel split up. Simon, I don't know whether they split up or just decided to go their separate ways, but Simon had the more successful career than Garfunkel did.
Yeah, right.
But who you got?
Well, I've got Fleetwood Mac. Literally everyone that was ever with the band released an album on a solo effort.
Yeah.
The great percentage of them were flops. Just went absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
Of course, we know what Stevie Nicks has done. She's just everywhere.
Was everywhere.
You know, singles, duets. It doesn't matter what she does. It comes out literally almost a hit every time.
She was pretty much the standout of that.
Lindsey Buckingham, who was with them for a while, had a hit in 1981 called Trouble. And that's sadly about his only solo effort that got any play. Christine McVie, of course, my favorite. In 1984, released a solo single called "Got a Hold on Me," which I thought was a pretty good song. It didn't climb the charts as far as I thought it might.
I seem to recall playing that. So it must have hit the top 40.
Do you remember a song called "Ebony Eyes"?
I remember Bob Welch doing it.
Yeah, Bob Welch.
Was Bob Welch involved with?
I think he was there for a while. At any rate,
I didn't realize that.
Well, who was with them was I wanted to see if I could fool you. Who was with them actually was Joe Walsh of the Eagles fame, and he was with them for a short period of time, and he released a solo album during that period of time.
And he had one or two hits.
Yeah, he did.
Guess,
but they've had.
Say Christine really didn't do much. So he put on the flop side, Christine, as far as having hit records.
Yeah.
On the flop side, probably Christine and what was there a John?
John McVie was her husband.
John McVie, I don't know, did anything.
I think John McVie released a couple of albums.
Okay.
Mick Fleetwood released a couple. The other guy, there was another guy in the band, and I forgot his name. I didn't write it down. I'm sorry, but
Lindsey Buckingham and Christine McVie.
But they had another guitarist.
Lindsey.
Okay. Even released one to no acclaim. The Bob Welch reference was just to see if you were on track.
I did not.
He could have been with them. The band had so many people
together.
Down the line. They had probably 10 or 15 different people in the group.
Well, I was not aware.
But Stevie was probably the one that just outshined everybody. So
she certainly did.
The most popular and the most successful solo act.
Okay, I'm going to mention the Commodores. The Commodores had their first hit. I don't know if anybody remembers this. Back in 1974, Commodore's first hit was Machine Gun. And I really don't remember that by then. But they continued to they had 39 hits, I believe, 39 solo records. Night Shift was the last one for the Commodores, 1985. These songs were not fronted by Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie, of course, left the Commodores, and he went on to an incredible. He had 42 singles released. His very first single was. Do you have any idea?
You Are?
Huh?
You Are?
His very first single was Endless Love. Yeah. With Diana Ross. It wasn't really a single, but it was his first record by himself. Okay. And it was released in 1981, so that's pretty much when Lionel split off from the Commodores. He went, I have number one with, I guess in 1982, his first 13 singles went top 10. So that's pretty.
He reached number one with Truly.
Pretty incredible. He certainly did go to number one with Truly. Actually, I had that written down, couldn't read it.
Well,
couldn't read my own writing.
We don't compare anything literally. No, and that's on my list as well. Lionel Richie is. So
okay.
I've got some of the same notes, I believe.
Well, we probably do. I'm going to mention probably another band you may have, Genesis. Genesis had 7 top 10 hits that hit the Billboard Hot 100. And Phil Collins on his own, Phil Collins left Genesis, and Phil Collins on his own had 56 singles, starting with In the Air Tonight. That was his first single in 1981. And he went to number one with several other singles. He had a huge career after leaving Genesis, which may have been the thing to do. And I know Peter Gabriel was also part of Genesis. Before Phil Collins joined, I believe Peter Gabriel was their one guy, and Peter had hits like Sledgehammer, and he had a relatively impressive career. But what happened to the rest of Genesis, I'm not sure.
He also had hits with Salisbury Hill in 1983. See, that's another one you got from me. And also in 1982, a song called Shock the Monkey.
Yes.
Which was kind of popular. But Sledgehammer, of course, is in 86. It was the name of the album and the name of the title track. Went to number one. And you know what it replaced at number one?
In 86? Men at Work. No, I don't
It replaced Invisible Touch by Genesis.
Oh, my.
Isn't that coincidental?
That is something. A Phil Collins record goes to number one and replaces Genesis, who obviously continued. Was Phil Collins on those Genesis records? Or do you know?
Which ones?
Like, was he on Invisible Touch?
Oh, yes.
He was on Invisible Touch.
Yeah.
But replaced himself as a solo artist. So
also in that a member of Genesis who went on a solo effort was Mike Rutherford. They had Mike and the Mechanics. They released a song called "The Living Years" and another one called "Silent Running." The Living Years was such a fantastic song.
Certainly,
it was fronted by a guy who sang with the band Ace, who did How Long in the mid-'70s, I believe. And his name was Paul Carrick. Paul Carrick had two releases in 87 called Don't Shed a Tear and One Good Reason. Also, before that, though, in 1981, he fronted a band called Squeeze. And they did, he's like the Tony Burrows kind of guy.
Yeah, and did all kinds of different things.
And they did a song that only reached number 41, but it was called Tempted. And if you've never heard this song, listen to it. It's really, I think it's really good.
It is a good song, and I recall it for some reason.
But a lot of people didn't know this. Paul Carrick was the guy who sang the lead for Ace. He sang the lead for Mike and the Mechanics. And he sang the lead for Squeeze. Plus, he had this little solo career. It was fantastic.
Lead singer for Genesis? Was he the lead singer?
No, not him. No,
not him. Okay.
Just Phil Collins and Peter Gabriel is the only two I remember.
Oh, okay. Those are the guys.
Yeah, Gabriel was early on.
Confused,
but Peter Gabriel was early on. Phil Collins was the drummer of the band who took over as the lead vocalist.
Lead singer. Yeah. Police is another group that first hit, I think, with Roxanne. Don't stand so close to me. Do every little step, every breath you take. But Police, we always get a crack out of do because of one of our previous shows.
I wouldn't stand too close to do.
That's right. The Police.
I'd have to call the police.
Exactly. Police had 7 top 40s. Oh. And they spanned from the 1970s to the 1980s. Sting, of course, left the Police or split from the Police. I understand that he rejoined them again and then left again. But Sting had actually only one really big song. If you love them, let them free, or something that was called if you love,
set them free.
If you love them, set them free. Sting went to number 3 with that in 1985. So would I say Sting had a great career, stellar career after leaving the Police? Probably not. Police did a little bit better than Sting in the singles department. Have to mention Hall and Oates. I would be remiss if I didn't mention Hall and Oates. Hall and Oates had 63 singles. The most successful duo, male duo of all time, including Brooks and Dunn, who came in, I think, at second on that. They had 18 albums. Daryl decided to do some solo work without Oates and released 6 studio albums. He had one top 10 single called Dreamtime. So Daryl did not do as fruitfully as they did as a duet. Hall and Oates were sort of hooked in together. And I don't know whether the world was ready for Daryl Hall by himself, but Dreamtime did do very well for him, went top 5 for him. And I absolutely love that song. But the reason I say something about Hall and Oates is if you come to the West Virginia Broadcasting Hall of Fame hall in the Museum of Radio and Technology here in Huntington, you'll see my picture with Hall and Oates.
Both a Monty and Quaker.
That's right, Monty Hall and Quaker Oates. And I was in the middle of the two, so I got called "and" for a long, long time. You got somebody else?
Yes, I sure do. If I can for a second, I'll get back to Lionel Richie.
Sure.
Some of the stuff in 1982, he released "You Are," and then "My Love," and then "Truly," which went to number 1. 83, he did the album "All Night Long," the title track and then the song "Hello," which was huge.
It was.
In 86, he did "Dancing on the Ceiling," and then another number 1 was "Say You, Say Me."
Yes.
And very prolific, to be perfectly honest. So getting away from him now.
Now I have him down as having 42 singles
Goodness
released.
sakes,
So
that's very prolific.
yeah, it's a lot of
So
songs.
a lot of you remember in the through the late 60s, early 70s, this band that was, they had a little a modicum of success. Yeah, Led Zeppelin was their name. They had a couple of people that had some solo things. Jimmy Page had a solo effort once, and he also did some work with David Coverdale of Whitesnake. It was called Coverdale Page, and they did some work in the 80s. It didn't go over the best in the world, but they did it anyway. But their frontman, Robert Plant. Now, you would think, here's a guy that fronted one of the greatest rock bands that ever was on the planet. Surprisingly, his solo efforts did not pan out as people thought they would, because I think the music that was produced was nothing close to being anything like Led Zeppelin, not in the vicinity. But Robert Plant in 1983 released a solo album called The Principle of Moments, and one of my personal favorites. And his song that was released off that album was
Big Log.
Yes, song's called Big Log.
Big Log.
It got play on MTV like you would not believe. Excuse me. And that was one. I just like the song because of the music, pretty much.
It was also a radio song for a while.
Yeah. And he released a song also in '83 off the same album called In the Mood. This wasn't the one.
It was a different
one. Sure. Pardon me. And in 1985, he released a song called Little by Little that I believe got a little airplay. And then he did the effort with the Honey Drippers. Now, I don't consider it, doing a duet or with a group, so to speak, as being a solo effort. But the Honey Drippers, which we talked about the last show, they did the Sea of Love in '84 and Rockin' at Midnight in '84. That was their claim to fame.
And that's the Honey Drippers.
That's it.
I have one more band to mention. There are so many. There are hundreds. And if we don't touch on your favorite group that spawned a solo act, make sure you let us know about it, okay? And we'll tell you how to reach us. I'm going to bring up the Cars. They had 7 LPs that spanned the 70s and 80s. They had 15 top 40 hits, including my favorite, which, being the ballad lover that I am, Drive was my favorite Cars song. It's going to drive you home tonight. But Rick Ocasek decided, for whatever reason, to do his own thing. Rick was part of the Cars. He had one hit single that I could find in 1986, went to number 15 off of his second solo album. I didn't even write down the name of the song. Benjamin Orr from the Cars had one studio LP. He apparently had a single too that went to number 24. And I don't remember the name of it either, but I didn't write down the names of those because, in my opinion, the Cars did much better than Rick Ocasek or Benjamin Orr did as solo acts. So the question raised in today's show is, was it a good thing for a solo act to come out of a group, or was it a bad thing? Was it a successful venture when an artist left a group and decided to go on their own, or was it did it backfire on them?
Yeah.
And
we just went through a small cross section,
very small.
I mean, extremely small. And if you can think of anything, send us a message. Let us know.
Yeah,
you can put it right down here below, or you can send him a message on X, send us an email at rdwgmm@gmail.com. And
I checked RDWGMM, Radio Days with Gary Music Miller. Somebody asked me once, why did you have to come up with such an involved email? And it's not involved at all. It's the an acronym, or the initials of the show, RDWGMM, Radio Days with Gary Music Miller, at gmail.com. And Dave and I both checked those out, and I think in the last 4 months, one person has used that email.
we're so popular.
We are so popular. But we know you're watching. We know we have so many hits per view, per show. We have so many views per show. And we have a certain number of subscribers that I think check in, decide, well, we're not really interested in what they're talking about today, and they leave. But we hope you will wait till the end of every show and leave a like, a share, and we obviously would very, very much so like to have subscription, which should raise intensely if we can bring the girl that brought us in today back.
No. And if we reach 50,000 subscribers, Gary will do the episode of the 50,000 subscriber naked. He will, he'll just
don't make them. they won't do that. So anybody who wants to see me naked, nah, you don't want to see me. I promise I will keep my clothes on for 50,000 subscribers. Now we've been on 4 years, and I guess 4 years. We had a couple of breaks in between when I had some severe health problems, but and if you wonder why sometimes I sound a little funny, it's because my brain's been busted into twice. I had a stroke, and you folks probably know what happened to me: brain bleed, which had to be. I had a brain bleed on a fall. They had to fix it, and 10 days later, I fell again and landed on the place where they'd done the brain bleed operation. So I had double brain surgery within the course of
at least you're consistent.
Over a week. I'm consistent. Yes. I haven't fallen since 2022, and I'm hoping that it'll stay that way.
And I don't say that. Believe me, I don't say that kind of stuff to be mean. It's only in a joking manner, and he knows it.
And so I know that.
Don't put anything into it.
but that's we've been on that, and I don't think we've reached 200 subscribers yet. And we do a show. I think we do a quality show. We do a show about music. We do a show about radio and records. We do radio when there's somebody involved in radio that can come in and visit, or I come up with a memory of when I was on the radio, most of which I've covered in past episodes. And we talk records because that's what made radio special.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it was the only way you could get radio. You could get your new records. The only way you could get your new songs. You could hear new songs other than TV shows like American Bandstand and The Ed Sullivan Show and Midnight Special. The only way you could get new songs was by radio.
You had to hear them on the air before you could go to Davidson's and buy them.
Exactly. And I remember Davidson's used to have their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have a top 50 list that they printed out every couple of weeks. that I think was done by an outfit called Music Man.
Yeah.
And they would, whatever was number one on the chart, they would have in a bin or whatever you call it on the wall, number one, number two, number three, number four, and you could actually find the records that you wanted to buy that quickly.
Yeah.
So we're all about nostalgia, radio and records. Like I said, we're going to be talking a lot more about records because most of the radio people that I've had to deal with, that I've had on the show, that sounds awful to say that I've had to deal with, but the people that I have dealt with have already been on the show or are no longer with us. So I'm very fortunate to be here to be able to talk about those people. Yeah. And if there's somebody that you would like me to interview or you would like to see whatever happened to, feel free to drop me a line. Again, rdwgmm@gmail.com. If there's a topic you'd like us to talk about, write us at rdwgmm@gmail.com. It's pretty obvious that not all the people that are listening to us are writing to us or are commenting. So we really, really value your comments and your suggestions. Yeah. And any criticisms you have, send them along. That's the place. That's really the place to get both Dave and my attention. And of course, you can send. And I am collecting suggestions and/or questions that you sent me on X. You can send on X, which used to be Twitter, at Gary Music Miller. Very simple. And write me a note. Send me a question. Send me a suggestion, or, as I said, a criticism, and write to me. And that's what those basically the three people that asked me about shows that we've already done. I understand because you just started listening to us, and so you missed 40 or 50 episodes, however many episodes you've missed. So I will try at times to refer you to the proper season and episode.
Right.
So,
and when you watch our program, when we talked about this, what you see is what you get. We sat down and said, look, this is going to be just two old buddies talking about radio and records, and you can join in. We consider you our friends as well. If you're going to sit and watch us for a while, we're going to consider you our friends. So we would absolutely appreciate you sitting in with us and putting up with most of my foolishness and his great information.
And we'd love to hear from you. So if you are watching, please drop us a line. Again, at the email, that's the best place to do it. rdwgmm@gmail.com. I've repeated that about 3 or 4 times. It can't be said anymore. That's the easiest way to get a hold of Dave and myself. And ask us questions, let us deal with, you may have you may say, if I had a show like that, I'd do this. Well, tell us what you do, and we'll try to do it if it's doable. So, can't leave out the fact that this wonderful set that you see, and there are so many things. There's a reel-to-reel back there, which I don't think may be in this shot. There's
right
these are
us.
cart racks. We are in front of an old control board. These are actual things that were used on the radio back in the day. And if you come out to the West Virginia Museum of Radio and Technology, it's at 1640 Florence Avenue in Huntington. Come out on Saturday. They open at 10. and Sunday they open at 1, and they're open on the weekends, and it's wonderful for us to see people walk past us, and we know hopefully those people are, listeners and are interested in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Don't you want to come in and sit down in this set? You can pretend you're Gary Music Miller. Do that.
And if you look over Gary's right shoulder here, you can look at that old cart machine sitting back here. Like 1, 2, 3, 5 slot cart machine from back in the early, turn of the century, in 1900. I think is when it came about, but it's got some years on it, I believe.
I started in radio in 71, and most of this stuff predates me. So, a lot of the stuff's from the 60s and even the 50s. You see old radios here, you see old television cameras, you see, like I said, our tribute to all the people in the Broadcast Hall of Fame. There's, I don't know what else they've got here. They've got so many rooms. It used to be a schoolhouse.
Yeah.
Here's your old schoolhouse. Yeah. And they filled every room here with radio memorabilia. So,
when Gary started in radio, they were using turntables and playing records. And it was the funniest, the tone arm of the turntable.
Here's one of the records, and I don't know whether I can get the turn. This
anyway,
is
the tone arm,
right hand.
The tone arm had a bird tied to it, and they set its beak down on the record to play it.
Yeah,
like the Flintstones. You remember that?
I think I just broke this.
Okay, that's good. Okay, Gary's just destroyed most of the equipment in here, so I think it's time for us to skedaddle.
I wanted to get the tone arm back down to where it was, but yes. I went through radio. I went through records. I went through a period of time when something you probably are familiar with, if you're familiar with radio, if you're not, something called a cart, which was very similar to an 8-track tape, but it had one song on it. And it was my job as a music director to transfer songs from record to cart.
Remember these?
Yeah.
Red vinyl.
Red vinyl. I have a piece of vinyl. Back to my friend's Hall of Notes. I have a vinyl copy of with Christmas stuff all over it. And on one side, Daryl Hall is singing Jingle Bell Rock. And to the same music, same tune. On the flip side, John Oates is singing Jingle Bell Rock. And it was a lot of fun to have 2 turntables going at once and put those together. And I did that, put them together on cart. So we had Hall and Oates doing Jingle Bell Rock. And it was always special to get in colored vinyl. And so I went from carts. I believe we went from carts to CDs, which I was vehemently against. There were like 16 songs. We subscribed to a service. There were 16 songs on every CD that came in, 16, 17, 18. They would put the pop hits first, they'd put the country hits second, and the rock hits third. And it was so easy, I said, when I was objecting, I said, this is not going to work because somebody's going to cue up the wrong song on a 16 CD CD. They're gonna, it's inevitable. They're gonna play cut 5 when it's supposed to be cut 4. And I don't remember ever accidentally playing a country song, but I do remember starting a song, hearing it, and going, hold on, that's not the song we're supposed to hear. We'll be back after these messages. And
Here's Quiet Riot, and all of a sudden Hank plays.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that could have been a disaster, but we went from records to carts to CDs, and then basically when I left, we were doing CDs, as I recall, and we used to give these away. We used to, I've forgotten cassettes, but we never really used cassettes on the air, but we gave away cassettes and CDs and albums. And at the end of my career in 2009, at the end of my stay at Key, I was there from 1978 to 2009. Record companies, it was my job to call the record companies and say, we're playing such and such. Could you send us 20 CDs to give away? And they would normally do that. And the more CDs we got into people's hands, the more CDs they would end up selling, which sounds almost like a paradox. But if you got something free and your friend heard it, they'd go, I want that CD too. And at the end, they were sending us MP3s, I believe they were called. I'm totally out of the loop when it comes to new technology. But they would send us a website, and I guess the website would have the MP3 on it. And instead of giving away CDs and so forth, we were giving away MP3s. And so you call in, you were the 10th caller, you go to such and such a site, and you get your own, record.
You're coming on the age of the iPod and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you store all your music on there.
Music, what do you call that thing? The music. Well, iPod's probably the name I'm looking for, but
it's a generic name now for any kind of MP3 player.
Yeah. So who knows where radio will go from there? But that's a little radio speech for those of you who want to hear a little bit about radio. And we will be back hopefully next time. I have what I think is a very interesting subject that I'd like to cover, and we will do so based on the biggest. This subject will be based on the biggest selling albums of all time, but there's a twist to it. And there are two albums that we want to talk about, two of the albums that are always brought up as the biggest albums of all time. And I'd like to do a little twist on that. And then in about 2 shows from now, about a month from now, Paul Urbans will be back.
Yeah.
And Paul is going to come back and have a discussion with us. And I think it has to do with the British invasion and what we always thought was Beatlemania, but he has some interesting insight into British acts that made it before the Beatles did. So that should be probably show after next. So that's all I got to say. I'm surprising him with all this. I didn't know we were doing that. But I do have an interesting take on 2 of the biggest albums ever. And that's it for me.
Oh, well, okay. Wait, I've had to stutter myself. And with that said, I believe we are done for the day. We appreciate your viewing. If you're new, thank you for joining us. If you're an existing viewer, thanks for coming back. With that said,
please subscribe.
Please subscribe, like, share, all that stuff. You already know how to get a hold of him. He said that once or twice.
In 4 years, I would think we would have 200 subscribers, but we don't. And there are guys that do shows like this that sit around and just talk about records and music, and they have thousands and thousands of viewers. So we'd like to be included in that group.
Yeah. Well, until we get there,
Yeah.
we're going to say thanks anyway. We appreciate you. We appreciate each and every one of you. We thank you for watching. Have a wonderful week ahead. Take care. God bless, and so long, folks.